Today we're interviewing Andreas Høgsberg, who is the founder of Virtual Hive. Virtual Hive is an online meeting platform, but he started working with us. So we have questions about how is it to work with the agency, what are the challenges, what are the benefits. We were running very late for this one. We already tried to record the episode once, that didn't go, and then we tried it today. And we started late and there was drilling in the building, so it got a little bit shorter than we wanted, but Andreas unfortunately had to go to another meeting. So it's a shorter episode than we usually do. Just want to warn that, but still a great episode. Please stay tuned.
Then I think you need to really let information from your sales organization flow into the marketing.
Andreas Høgsberg, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, just a word of advice for everyone. You and I known each other since we were teenagers, so if there's a little bit of friendly banter here and there, that might be why. Andreas, what is Virtual Hive and how did you come up with it and what are you guys doing?
Well, that's a lot of questions. But first of all, Virtual Hive is a 3D platform for virtual and hybrid meetings and conferences, fairs, and so forth. So basically imagine a virtual platform where you will enter a conference venue, hotel, fair venue, and you will find all the facilities that you have in physical meetings. So for instance, breakout rooms, plenary rooms, networking areas, exhibition areas, and so forth. So basically everything you have in the physical space, you will find in the 3D virtual space. And so this is the platform. This is a product, a SaaS product sold by license all over the world. And that's what the product is. And then how or why did we come up with it? And that's actually a funny story. So I've been working with meetings and conferences for almost 20 years, and basically focusing not only on the production, but basically on the consulting side of the formats, the concepts, the whole thing about presenting in a manner that basically creates results. So all that content and formats about meetings in order to create better return on investment. And so for the past, I think, almost 10 years, we've been discussing if we could, sort of overcome some of the obstacles that we have in physical meetings. And I think, these are also some of the drivers that we will see in the digitization of meetings. So first of all, and I guess you know this, but it is quite costful to host meetings, especially if they are global or international. You have to fly people in, you have, accommodate hotel, food and beverage, and so forth. So every time you are trying to scale your physical meeting, it's quite expensive. Also, you could argue that the bigger the meeting, it's sometimes difficult to have that intimate atmosphere that you also want to create sometimes. So these are something. So the scalability of physical meetings is something that you can obviously overcome quite easily digitizing, because there are no limits to how many people who can participate, right? The second is that physical meetings are quite poor in terms of data. You don't really know where people are going, what they're interested in, how they're interacting, and so forth. And again, if you can follow that track digitally, you get rich data. And so these are some of the obstacles that we have been working with far before COVID. This has nothing to do with COVID, basically, seen from our point of view. And the last, I would say, focus area is obviously the green or the sustainable agenda. It's just not very sustainable to fly people from continent to continent or across Europe to have a one-day meeting. So a lot of businesses obviously look into this and say, okay, maybe, we can cut down and have some physical meetings and some digital meetings and then try to combine in some way. So this journey we basically embarked on, I think 5-6 years ago. And in order to just look into these drivers and see if we could fix it somehow. And to be honest, we were not, we have been practicing, we have been live streaming meetings, and 4 or 5 years ago, we bought up a video production company in order to be able to create the content that should, be digitized. And so we have been working all over the place with this, and obviously in the spring of 2020, out of nowhere came COVID, and this obviously accelerated our journey. So we finished the product. So we had the whole architecture there, and we had the framework, and had been building on the CMS. So we had to accelerate, and we had, we sold our first license in the summer of 2020, and so actually we did quite interesting. I wouldn't say it's our MVP because we are into meetings and conferences, but Copenhagen Pride came actually, and they wanted to have the Pride Week, and with a lot of talks and stuff like that, and have the parade and all that. And so we talked to them, and they said, could you create a platform for us, because we really need to convey our message to everybody. And so we actually, our first platform that we saw was not our standard platform, but actually a customized skin. So the front end that you see was a picture of, or animated picture of Copenhagen, where you could sort of visit the places where they had the talks and stuff like that. And then from there we just went on. And so I'd say there was quite the pace we had there during the autumn.
And I believe you also got funded at some point. Was that before COVID, or did that happen during COVID?
No. So when we finalized the project, basically, and again, you have a company, and you sort of branch this product out of the our primary company, and so we were sort of in a crisis because all meetings were closed down. Basically, everything was canceled. So in one end we were bleeding quite heavily, and in the other end we were investing quite heavily in the new platform. And so obviously the banks got quite nervous, and we had a few discussions with them during that period. During the spring of 21, so this is basically not a year ago, we started looking for investors and ways to accelerate our growth. And I think the timing is quite right for things like this. So we were quite lucky to have a really good valuation for our product. And as I said, we basically branched out and made a new company, again called Virtual Hive. And so we have the consultancy business, and that's quite useful to have all the knowledge to understand the market and the market situation and help clients create content. But then we have our Virtual Hive, selling licenses basically. And right now we're just pushing with new product features and obviously sales and marketing.
So this is a marketing podcast, so I have to ask all the marketing questions. So the Copenhagen Pride was your first client. How did you land that client? Was that through marketing or word of mouth or network? And what did you do following after those clients afterwards? How did you get them from a marketing perspective?
Well, so I think we are like most other startups, basically. Obviously, we've been working with marketing and communication for many years, and we have traditional advertising people in the company. So I would say that we were able to sort of create our own strategy and our own plan in terms of the brand. But then we also joined forces with experts at Media Group worldwide to help with the digital marketing, and we've signed obviously a sales department doing outbound sales. So I would say that we're working quite closely with sales and marketing. I think it's basically, these two things have to be tied really close together, because we're getting a lot of very useful information from the salespeople who are in contact with potential clients every day. And we use that or utilize that knowledge to sort of adjust our marketing in social media and Google and SEO optimization and stuff like that. So obviously we get professional help from experts. We have narrowed our markets down to the East Coast of the US and Germany, Denmark, Norway, and the UK. And so this is what we're targeting right now. And then basically it's trial and error, I think. We're constantly trying to optimize our results, and great for us. We are doing quite well, but it's also something where you have to find, sometimes you really have to meditate and stay focused, because not every day is great. Sometimes it's not a home run every time. But I think, at least when we look at the curve, it's pointing in the right direction.
So from a marketing perspective, and yes, you're working with Media Group, which is great. We're happy to hear that. Why choosing the East Coast of the US and UK and Norway and UK? Why those territories or countries?
Well, I mean, the German and the Norwegian markets are at least our neighbors.
Yes.
So to understand the culture and also to be able to work in the same time zone, I think was quite important. But also we needed to find countries that were not 100% similar to Denmark in order to learn, because the plan is obviously to expand to other markets as soon as possible. That's why we got the funding in the first place. And so the UK and US, well, the truth is they are just much more mature in terms of digitization and meetings and marketing. And so they are first movers, and that's why they are prioritized territories for us. So, but we're trying out, and sometimes, we're discussing, should we close this market and should we open another market? And I think, in this initial phase, you just have to be really close to the decisions all the time. You can't sit being a CEO waiting for the big wheel to turn. It's an everyday task where every morning we have our sales and marketing meeting and we discuss the results from the day before. And then we adjust, and then we are in close contact with our agencies that helps in different ways. I think we work with our homepage. We're producing tons of content and videos, and we can see that is working quite well. I think I'm old enough to say that there's nothing in this world that is 100% sure, right? You can't, there's always that doubt somewhere, and there should be, because that's what keeps you on the toes all the time. And so I think, there is a market, obviously, and right now when COVID is coming back, you feel it instantly. Things are closing down all over Europe, all over the world. Politicians are, of course, hesitant by closing all the way, but you can also see that the behavior of the potential participants is changing. So, even if you are allowed to have your meeting, people are not showing up. And so, if you have a message or you have important information that you need to share with your stakeholders, you have to come up with other ways. And this is what we can feel right now. And I think, there has been a vacuum sort of in the autumn this year, where everybody rushed out and said, we have to meet physically again. We haven't been meeting for 1.5 years. And obviously, for a good reason, we miss that. But I think, when we talk to businesses right now, you can see a new future forming. And the future is basically a combination, obviously. So, physical meetings is really strong in different senses, But again, for the reasons I stated earlier, I mean, digital meetings and especially virtual platforms that can accommodate not only the streaming but also creating concepts and play with feelings and emotions and sort of create something as close to or similar to physical meetings. They are going to play a role in the future. And I think right now everybody's struggling to find out, okay, so how are we going to combine this? Because obviously, when you talk to the CFO and the person says, well, look at all the money we saved, and we're still talking to our clients and our employees. And then you have the sales director saying, well, that's fine, but not right now. My competitors are drinking beer with my clients. What do we do about that? And that struggle is, sort of going to find its ease at some point. And I think we're going to at least see a year or two down the road before, things are calming down and you will see a perspective. But I also definitely believe that we will see a huge growth in this. We're talking to we just sold a platform in Switzerland to a huge bank. And this is a strategic decision for them. They're going to have this as a strategic tool in order to have international meetings where people don't have to fly in all the time. And then they're going to prioritize and say, okay, maybe we'll use the digital meetings more for the formal educational information, basically. It's really good for sharing information in short formats. But, the physical relationship building part is something that we humans prefer to do physically. And so we just have to look at the objectives of what we do, and we have to say, what is the exact objective with this meeting and that meeting? And maybe we have to split it. And also, again, I think, what we've seen from the data we have now and the experiences is that, the companies that are using these platforms professionally are also using the platforms to segment. You can see what are people interested in, how are they engaging, and then you can segment, and then you can invite the special segments that that you can see consist the value that you want to invest in.
Okay.
And
so you get feedback data from the audience because you can monitor all those things. You can see what people engage in.
Real time. Basically, imagine you have to sign in and you are delivering a lot of information toward, in regards to your interest and your professional and sort of, demographic data as well. And then basically the system is able to track if the participants are interacting with their interests, and how much time, how much interaction, how many questions, how many visits to stands, presentations, and participation in workshops and so forth. And then you get a quite clear picture of that individual's preferences and interests, because you're not asking them, you are monitoring their time spent. And this is real data. So, basically what we know from digitized marketing in the first place, we're adapting into these platforms, and so I think we'll see a tremendous value in the future. Maybe I can't, nobody knows the future, but I think that perhaps you would even see a quite new price structure where it's data that is the value and not the exposure, basically. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
Very interesting, and I think it's definitely neat. I mean, also we've all been to meetings that shouldn't have been a meeting, should just be an email or just a phone call, but we all waste a lot of time in meetings, so we can make meetings more productive and more happy and more fulfilling for everyone. And we also monitor people who, are not enjoying meetings, and that feedback is also important to get for people. But if I can get back to just a couple of things here. So you said before that you're producing a lot of content. Can you see now which content is working, which content is not working? And can you specifically talk about a campaign that's really working as opposed to one that doesn't work? Sort of give some feedback.
Well, I'm sorry to say, but business drivers are working better than talking about the environment. I would love that it was the opposite, but it's not. So, I think where campaigns where the audience basically feel that you're giving back something, sharing knowledge, I think that's working quite well. And doing it in video as perhaps a teaser is working quite good. That's why we're creating cases and just short comments and talks about things that we learned and we're sharing with the market. And so that's what's working best for us right now. So obviously we're also producing white papers and ebooks and stuff, all that kinds of stuff. But I'd say that sharing knowledge is working. If you are, and I think it's logical basically. I mean, if you are professionally interested in something and you're looking for information, and here you go, somebody is actually giving it to you. So if it's delivered in a trustworthy and relevant and manner and professional manner, it's working. And the quality of the leads is quite high, and the interactions are quite high, and so we can see that the click-through rates and everything is rising. And so we just have to. And we haven't. We're not there yet. We're working on it. I think we're quite fast, and I think we are comparing to other businesses and markets. Our numbers are quite good.
Good, that's good to hear.
But we have a long way to go, and I think we have to refine this and keep refining forever. Basically, the world is also changing, and the situation is changing. So right now, when COVID is coming back, you need sort of things that interacts with this situation. And then, in half a year in the summer and everything, people are tending to forget that it was ever here. And now we got the booster, everybody's happy. And then we're talking about something else. So, stay relevant, keep it short and sweet, and constantly monitor the results and adjust. This is it's a good thing. You're not buying advertising on the side of the bus, and you can, you sort of realize that that it was the wrong piece of information or the messaging was wrong, and then you can see the bus driving around for a month. You can adjust in a few days, and this is the good thing about it. But then you have to keep on your toes, and you have to I think be quite aggressive. And then I think you need to really let information from your sales organization flow into the marketing, because all the discussions that you're having with your customers is something that we need to adapt and integrate into our outbound communication.
So you're saying that the feedback the salespeople have is important because they are talking to people who generally have a problem, and they communicating that to the marketing team is something you can go out and promote more that way. So are we saying some more communication between the two departments?
Yeah, I mean, so we can buy a lot of data, and this is really good, but you have to combine quality with quantity, I think. And the quality you very much get from your sales organization, at least in our experience. So you need to find out a way to integrate and let the knowledge fly both ways, basically, because you're also getting a lot of quantitative information and data from your digital work, and that goes back into the sales organization in order to target the audiences much better. So it's going both ways.
What are your main challenges now? What keeps you up at night?
I would say my investors, but they're actually quite. I would say, it's the unpredictability of the market situation, basically. I mean, I think we're doing quite well. Our product is fine. It's on its way, and I think we can be really proud of our product. And I think that, in many terms, our marketing works, but also, sometimes it's frustrating to sit down for a week and you haven't sold anything, right? You're putting all these efforts into a lot of things. And then the next week, you have a lot of sales, and then the next week, nothing. So, I'm looking forward to go into a more situation where I think we'll have more constant flow somehow, so we will be able to predict everything a little bit better. Right now, we're testing a lot, and sometimes you fail, and sometimes you succeed. And the key, obviously, is to repeat and go on as long as your funding is there. We are fine so far, and this is the way of startups, I think. I've been sitting in a quite comfortable situation in a good business for 20 years, and obviously we had our ups and downs, and I'd say COVID was a real downer, but quite constant over the years. And now, it's funny to go back to a startup where, you're really looking out for how you're spending your money, and, having fruitful and tough discussions every day, so I love the passion, because our team, they're so passionate, and sometimes I think you can hear it in the whole building when we're trying to come to a conclusion. and we're putting a lot of effort and money into it, and I think the results so far are quite satisfying, but it's also a worry. You don't know where the market is going. You don't know if you have a huge competitor coming out, all of a sudden and taking the whole market. And that situation, obviously, when you spend all your resources on making this happen, and so, but it's also fun.
Okay. So you said previously that when you were doing marketing, you did your own marketing in-house, stuff like that. And now, of course, you got some money, and now you hired a agency. How is it to work with a bigger agency? How does structure and the flow, how is that working for you guys? Obviously, they're experts, and I'm saying here, I'm still promoting that. But what's the challenge working with a bigger agency from your point of view, and what's the benefits of it?
So I think it's aligning the expectations from the beginning. Basically, is a very important learning, and so the agency has to know where you are on your journey. And we were amateurs in terms of digital marketing, so we've been in traditional marketing and communication for many years, but going digital in this way, we were not as good as the agency expected. And that means that a lot of information is just it's not understood. So I think aligning expectation and being very honest about where you are, and so you can plan a process where they will sort of educate you along the way, but they also have to and I think so a great deal of humility in both ways, because we know the market, we know the target audiences, we know the product. We've been in meeting and conferences for more than 2 decades, and that information needs to be integrated, as well as understanding how all these different items works together when we talk digital marketing. So I think so I think the key lies in aligning expectations and aligning the process very, very strictly from the beginning. And to be honest, it took us a month or two before we were there, but I think right now we have a great team working with us on Media Group, and I think we're starting to have the same lingo, and that means that we don't have that many misunderstandings along the way. They want us to succeed, and that's a really important feeling, because you are failing once in a while, but if you know that you are on the same team. So you really want to form a partnership and not just a client relation, and I think that we are getting there quite good, and so I'm looking forward to working together in the future. But But it is something, it's like, I think, also relationship with your wife, right? You have to work on it.
Yeah, you have to put a lot of energy into it. Otherwise, you're going to get not so much energy out of it.
If you lean back and are sitting on your side just enjoying the ride, it's not gonna last for long, right? So you need to work on both sides, right?
Managing expectations on a daily, hourly basis. Absolutely, I hear you. Andreas, it's absolutely a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for sharing your time. I know you're a little bit busy, so thank you for fitting us in, and good luck with Virtual Hive.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you two guys.
If you are a regular listener or watcher of Memorable Marketing, you will know at the end of each podcast, I bring in Zane. And who is Zane? Zane is the producer who's behind the scenes, who's trying to make us sound good, but also make us look good. Maybe not visually, but at least the picture quality of what we say and what we do. So, Zane, I bring you in because it's always good to hear your opinion about the show. You're sitting in the background. What do you think about Virtual Hive and what Andreas is trying to do?
I'm very interested in what Virtual Hive is doing. I think that this is a great idea that I'm surprised. Again, I'm surprised it doesn't already exist. That is, it is such a great way to integrate information for both the event holders and the people at the events, because again, like digital marketing itself, you're offering something, but you're also getting those metrics and those feedbacks and figuring out how to segment your market. And it's right there. I think that this is a really great synergy of software.
What I found was very interesting is because Andreas has been in this space, the off world, the off digital, in the normal old world for a long time. And then he managed to sort of think, hey, can we do this more virtual? Can we do this? And what can we learn from that process? And then, of course, COVID hit and that has changed the whole game, which is in one way unlucky for all of us, but also a little bit lucky for them because needs are changing for businesses. And now, as you mentioned, we're going back into it, but making that transition from physical old world into a digital space, and he's managed that quite well. So I think that's very impressive and good on him.
When it comes to marketing, I think the main thing I took away from what Andreas said was the importance of experimenting and being close to the decisions that you make when you're marketing. So you don't just like let it run. Like you can change it at the drop of a hat, and experimenting and learning from your experiments and continuing to do that moving forward is an important part of digital marketing.
But also learning how to fail. It costs money, but we learned something. But it's not a failure. Oh my God, we failed at something. But no, we actually learned something that we can now apply so we don't fail again. So even though we spend some money over here, we can save that now on the next thing because we learned that. So failing is also a part of learning. Just like when you ride a bike or learn how to walk, right? You fall down.
And I guess doing it in a partnership with someone like Media Group, you feel like you're in a team, so you don't. It's not a personal failure. No. It's something that you learn from.
Exactly. So good on him. So if you are out there listening to this or watching this and you want to work with Media Group, please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you and figure out how we can help you. And Zane, thank you so much for always being helping us with the podcast.
Anytime.